So today we're going to put to work some BEDMAS stuff. So you did exponents and BEDMAS last year, probably, but not to this difficulty level, right? So a reminder is all the order that we do things. And BEDMAS is a trick with the words to help us with the order. What did the B stand for? Brackets, right? So B stands for brackets. E stands for exponents. And that's what we're learning about this whole chapter. Then we have division and multiplication. Now, division and multiplication are what we call tied. Division doesn't always come before multiplication. So those are called tied steps. So how do you choose which one to do first? It's the one first to the left. Tied. Go left to right. And the way I tell students to help remember that, it's just the same way you read a book. You read a book from a page left to right. So naturally you go from left to right. So whatever showed up first, that's the one you're going to do for division and multiplication. And the same thing with the last two. These are also tied. You have addition and subtraction. These are also tied, right? Go left to right. All right. So for the most part, the BEDMAS stuff is not going to say single power. It can say evaluate. So you can use all the power rules we did before to help maybe the calculation go faster, but that's not what we're doing. We're doing calculations, right? So we're turning these powers into numbers according to BEDMAS order. So you got to be able to spot the operations. So in this question here, we have a times and an exponent. Those are your two operations. We have this times here, and we have this exponent here. Right, one of the two things in the BEDMAS. Which one do we do first? Exponent. Exponent. Right, so we go 3, exponent 2. So we're going to do this one first. Right? What do you get? Gauge? 9. So at the beginning stages, just do one at a time, one calculation at a time. When you get good, you can do more than once. So maybe I'll keep that in black. And just bring the other stuff down. 4 times 9, and then you put those together. What do you get? Gauge?
You get 36.
Yeah, put those together. All right? So notice how I do this, right? Helps keep things organized, right? When you do a calculation, write the result right underneath where it came from. So this 9 was right underneath this. So I know where it came from, and then I brought everything straight down. Now multiplication is a tricky one, right? Because sometimes we see an X here, and that means multiplying. Sometimes we don't see an X. We just see a number touching a bracket, and that also means to multiply, right? So I'm going to put a dot there to highlight the fact that it means multiply. And I'm hoping that you remember that a dot and an X and two numbers touching a bracket also means to multiply, right? So now this question is identical mathematically to this one, right? The order we do it. We have a multiplication and we have an exponent here, right? So just as before, 2 to the exponent 4 gets done first. Escape, Control Z, and come on. All right, so we do 2 to the exponent 4 first. We do this one first, all right? And what is that number? Aya?
8.
Not 8. 16, right? It means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, not 2 times 4, right? So it's 16, so that turns into 16. Then we bring the other ones down right underneath. We have 3 times 16. What, Gauge?
48, no.
Yep. 48 again. Okay. All right. Next one. we have a exact same thing, but this time we have a negative base. So we're going to do the exact same thing together. You go like this. You put these negative 2 to the exponent 3. So 2 to the exponent 3 is an 8. Is the answer positive 8 or negative 8? Avelina?
Negative.
Negative. We're going to repeat this negative sign 3 times. All right? So this becomes a negative 8. So now, be careful when you drop the numbers down. If you go 6 and you bring the 8 down, and it looks like 6 minus 8 like this, there is a times symbol in between here. So either you put the times symbol in or you put the brackets in there. Either way. So it doesn't look like 6 minus 8. 6 times the answer here. Go back to the original one to keep the operation. Right? So you go 6 times 8. What's that number? Oh, negative 8 here. Avelina?
Negative 48.
Negative 48. Right? Sequence. Right? Okay. Not too bad. We'll do one more question and we'll stop. All right. Over here. Okay. So now, as the questions get bigger, you need to be able to know how to break them up to make them smaller. All right? Yes, Gage?
You always do brackets first, don't you?
Yeah, we typically do the brackets, but I want you to be able to learn how to break it up. And you were in my class last year, so you know the way I do it, right? If you weren't here, the way the technique I tell students is to break something longer up into something smaller is realize that the very last 2 steps are adding and subtracting that are not inside of brackets. So highlight those. Because you know that's the last calculations you're going to be doing. You know this subtraction and this adding are the last things you do. Right? So that means we can break this up into 3 parts. This part, and this part. Okay? So those parts are independent of each other. Right? So we're going to get 3 numbers, right? And then we're going to add and subtract them. Now, technically, if we do bed math, right, we want to do brackets and exponents first. So let's just do it according to bed math, right? Okay, 4 to the exponent 2 is 4 times 4, which is 16. So the answer is it positive 16 or negative 16?
Negative.
Negative. Right? Excellent. This 2 is not touching the negative sign, right? So it becomes negative 16. So I'm going to put down the negative 16 here. Right underneath here. Negative 16. And we have this plus sign here. And we have this minus sign here. All right? Okay. So the next, we go do what section? The red section or the purple section? Red is out and has exponents in it, right? So 5 to the exponent 2 is 5 times 5, and we get 25. Right? Positive 25 or negative 25? Positive. Right? And remember to use your calculator if you're not good with arithmetic. So you just go use the exponent button, right? So you go 5 exponent 2, and you get 25. Okay? Now, you do the purple section. That's 10 divided by 2. What number do you get? Samira? 5. So, we went and did this bed mass order between the different chunks, but technically we didn't have to. We could have, because these 3 parts are independent, we could have just done this one, and figured out this one, and figured out this one, right? Once you get comfortable, you can sort of jump around because you know what order things go in. Boys, you guys are making a lot of racket back here. I don't like it. Right? Yes? Okay. So now, we have addition and subtraction left. They're tied. So you just go from left to right. Combine 2 numbers at once. You go 25 minus 5. Combine those together. You get 20. Then you still have this situation here. Plus negative 16. So if you have two signs sitting next to each other, combine them to a single sign, right? What I mean is, remember the integers from last year. If you have a plus next to a plus, two positives being multiplied, you get a positive. If you have two negatives next to each other, it becomes a positive. However, if you have a positive and a negative, the signs are different. The answer is negative. Or a negative and a positive, the answer is negative. So these two signs here combine to what? A plus sign or a minus sign? Gage?
Negative.
Negative, or a subtraction. They're interchangeable. So you go minus 16. All right? You're going to make more mistakes if you have double signs. You can still do it. I encourage you to make it into a single sign. So what is our final answer? 4. Thank you. 20 minus 16, and it's 4. All right. So we're going to stop right